All right, welcome back, guys, to the Gambler. Oh, yeah, thanks, Dave. Welcome back to the Gambler Audit. This is the third time, guys. So anyway, this time we have Drew here. So Drew, how you doing?
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. So just to kind of give you an idea of what this is, if you haven't seen any of the previous ones we've done, we are talking to fellow gamblers, people much like you, if you're watching. And what we're trying to do is learn a little bit about what type of gambler they are, what games they play, and then kind of uncover some of the good and the bad, and sometimes even the ugly, things that, wish you didn't happen, the walk of shame leaving from the casino, or, going to the ATM cards or doing cash advances or whatever the case is, because we want to address that. And there's probably a lot of you out there that have encountered that situation before and needed to know how to deal with it. So we're going to give you the tools to make you a better gambler, overall. And that's the whole reason this channel exists, is to get you to gamble smart. Because if you do, you will gamble safe, meaning that you're able to be in full control at all times. Because as we've learned, and as you've probably learned, going into a casino and gambling, that there are so many distractions and so many things to pull you away from your plan and your focus. And what we're trying to do is get you to look past all that and stay, very highly focused on what it is that you're trying to do, but still have fun at the same time. And you can do that. So we're going to try to achieve that here with Drew today. So Drew, first off, where are you from?
I'm from Virginia.
Oh, Virginia. Okay. Very cool. And what kind of casinos do you have close by? Like, what's your closest casino?
The closest casino is National Harbor, MGM. But also there is Hollywood Casino in Charlestown, West Virginia, and Maryland Live. They're both like 20 minutes, about 20 minutes farther in opposite directions as well.
So do you typically go to National Harbor?
Is that National Harbor is the one I've been to. I'm planning on going to Charlestown next, probably. I haven't decided if I'm going to go to Maryland Live yet or not. It all depends on traffic. Like, that's the big thing in this area. Because
Northeast,
you can look on Google and it says, oh, okay, it'll take you an hour and 16 minutes to get there. And then 2.5 to 3 hours later, you haven't got to the casino yet. So,
Yeah. No, I hear you there. I heard the National Harbors are a pretty nice place. Of course, it's an MGM property. So if you have comps and status at MGM, that's a great place to go if you're over in the Northeast. Oh, it's not?
No. National Harbor.
When did this happen?
So National Harbor has always been you're not getting anything there. So
really?
If you are someone big at Atlantic City or Detroit or Vegas, you're not getting anything in National Harbor. You look at your offers, nothing is at National Harbor. You might get $50 off a room, but the rooms are $400 a night.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I stand corrected.
National Harbor is like that hidden gem of the MGM properties where you're not getting anything at all. You have to be huge at National Harbor, not someone's huge at Beau Rivage coming
party there. MGM, but not really. I got you.
Yeah. That definitely was my experience. We can talk more about that. I went a couple of weeks ago, and I don't have a lot of money. There we go. My budget's really small. It's $170, right? That's all I have for a budget. And going into National Harbor, I'm really, really glad, first of all, that I have found people like the two of you on YouTube who have given me advice to do various things. Because if I didn't walk in there with a plan, I would not have known even where to turn or what to do, really. So I walked around the casino, kind of checked out what games were there, and literally for like 25-cent games, right, denomination games, I think there were 6 to 8.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which were 5-line, right? There were plenty of 9-credit machines, right? Plenty easily. Right. Those are pretty easy to find. But like bankroll building stuff, not easy to find at all. And that was one of the problems that I had, really, because so I didn't have a lot of options. There were 2 double diamond machines. I put $20 in each of them and got no line hits. So where do I go play then? Right? What options do I have? Right? There wasn't. And that's one of the reasons why I want to go to the other casinos, because I've heard from other people there's more options for people who have my budget and play at my level. It is very, very obvious at National Harbor that they are presenting things and setting things up for people with larger budgets. My best example I can give you is I went there on a Saturday and I was there in the morning. So it wasn't too busy. It was kind of relatively quiet. But at 9:30 in the morning, in the whole casino, there were 2 craps tables open and they were both $25 tables.
God.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I'm not kidding. Like, yeah. It was very, very obvious that everything was at a certain level and up, right? If I had a budget of $400 or $500, there's plenty of $1 5-line machines around the casino, right? Or other stuff. But yeah, they are gunning for people who have a bunch of money, and you can't take a bag into the casino. Like, it's very obvious they want you to go there, like Dave said, go there, have a room, right? Come down from the room, go to the casino, and then go do other stuff, right? It's not very friendly to locals at all, even though the poker room is busy, even though they have Tuesday and Wednesday night stuff going on, right? But it's very, very obviously designed and targeted at people with higher levels of expendable income, for sure.
Yeah. The destination casino then.
Yeah. They're trying to get tourists, but also people who live in DC, people who live outside, who can afford to live in Maryland, outside of DC, all that. So they're catering to the higher end.
Yep.
They're like the Bellagio, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to, bring up, is that sometimes your closest casino isn't your best choice. And I think you've pretty much realized that. And I mean, it can be, I've heard, for example, that Rivers Casino out in Des Plaines by the airport is the same way. It's like $1 and up. Like, there really isn't any quarters or anything like that. And so they're expecting a certain level when you're there, but it's also like the closest casino to downtown Chicago. So, of course they can do that and get away with it, because, where else are those people going to go? And so, it brings up a good point that you guys, even if you have a casino that you consider your local that is very close, it may not be your best choice. So don't feel like, well, I spent an hour getting here and, I might as well play something outside of my comfort zone while I'm here. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever said that before? I've said it before. There's no top dollars here. Well, I guess I could play triple diamond or some triple stars. It's the next best thing, but I really wanted to play top dollar. It's like, well, get back in the car and drive another 20 minutes, and maybe that casino has a bank of 10 top dollars, all in quarters. And I would have felt really stupid going there afterwards and then seeing that, it's like, I should have listened to myself. So yeah, sometimes going to your closest isn't the best. Like, you should really scout out the area, especially if you're going to go every so often.
So true. Just as a quick check on, so how far are you from National Harbor, roughly?
About 45 minutes without traffic.
Okay, gotcha. All right. I'm sorry. Gears are turning, so getting ideas for you there.
Quite all right.
Keep going.
No, we're good. So while Dave is putting his thinking cap on, I can see he's thinking really very hard here. It looks like he's distracted. Dave. Dave. Hi, Dave.
So I have been to National Harbor once. Okay. And I agree with you 100%. It is hard to find. But I've also been to Horseshoe, Baltimore, which would essentially be another hour away. And they have an amazing selection of machines. Great selection of 25% machines, 50-cent machines. They have a really good selection of machines. And I'm almost saying, like, wait a minute. National Harbor is just not great, but you could drive essentially a little bit further, and it would be as equal distant to the other casinos you could go to. And I know for a fact it's a good place. And so that's what I'm thinking, is finding a place where you can stretch your budget further. So that would be like that's where I'm going right away, is where else can you go? Where's another choice,
Have you ever been out there, Drew, before?
I have not, no. So I'm just getting back into gambling.
Okay.
Honestly. You say every time on your videos, we're looking for people with different backgrounds. Well, mine is poker. So
Oh, okay.
Nice. That's good too.
I went to my first experience with gambling was the Argosy Casino Riverboat in Cincinnati in the late 90s, where I walked in there with $40 and came out with 35, which I was pretty proud of at the time.
That's really
honestly.
good.
Yeah.
And then after it, otherwise it didn't really have any appeal, or there wasn't any draw until Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker, and then I got very interested, right? So I got really involved in learning about that, playing that online until you couldn't do that anymore, right? And even went out to Vegas with some friends to do that in around 2008, which was a great trip. But after I wasn't able to play online, there were no casinos around here. There weren't any local, really. So I kind of like put that on the shelf for a number of years. My friends and I, in the last 10 years or so, went and bet on horse racing a couple of times, took a trip out to a track, had a good time, and that was it. And honestly, the reason I'm talking to the two of you right now is about a month and a half ago, a friend of mine was on his Twitch channel talking about going to TwitchCon in Vegas. And I was like, oh, you're thinking about, gambling, where you want to go and blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about Vegas in general. And he said, hey, there's this really cool new channel guy who's talking about slots and doing bankroll stuff and everything. And do you want to check it out? I said, sure. So I went and checked that channel out. And of course, once you start watching one slot channel, you're going to start watching 15 other slot channels.
Whether you like to or not.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And basically what happened was I was presented with the idea that you could take $100 and go have a good time in a casino. And I hadn't even considered that, honestly. And then I went, well, okay, I know National Harbor's here. Let me see what else is around. And that's basically what started all of this. And I went to National Harbor, 2 or 3 weeks ago, really. And generally it was an okay experience. I went in with a plan that got thrown out almost immediately, and I can tell you why in a minute or two. But yeah, the biggest problem that I had was just availability and accessibility of games, right?
Sure.
And after I got back home, right, I was like, oh well, I looked at a couple of other things, and I went, there's definitely other options in other places, and came to the same conclusion that Dave recommended. I need to go somewhere else, right? The biggest problem. So my experience with National Harbor, because I have a limited experience in casinos, is technically my worst one. If you want to go over that, a lot of that is because of my own inexperience, really, though, I think. I went in with $100, split it into 20s so I could play different machines. Had a plan to slowly work my way up, go through 2020. And I wasn't really picky about the machine that I wanted to start with. And again, I didn't have a lot of options. So I sat down at a 25-cent Big Green Stacks, and that's a 5-liner, 25 cent, but it has progressives. It's a standalone progressive. Mm-hmm. Not the ideal bankroll building machine, right? Not technically, but I was like, okay, I'll just play this and see how it goes. And I was, playing down and getting some hits and doing all right. And then I got the 6th progressive for $100, which doubled my money. Now, normally that's a really good thing, and it was, but I was ready to, play for a while and slowly build up my bankroll, not sit down and 10 minutes later have doubled my money. Yeah. So I was kind of caught off guard. I'm like, oh gosh, what do I do? Like I literally sat there and I went, backspins. I have to do backspins, like actually talking out loud, right? So I did the first backspin, got nothing. Hit the second backspin. I got the same progressive for another $100. Wow. So now I've tripled my money in 10 minutes. My brain just went out the window. Yeah, right? It just left the building. And I was like, okay. And I played, did a couple more backspins, got a couple more line hits, right? And cashed out for $290.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's fantastic, right? And I'm just sitting there going, I don't know what to do here, right? And looking back,
a lot of different paths to take at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. But I should have taken a break, right? Should have gotten a coffee, just left the casino. Didn't do that, right? Was smart enough to stick the ticket in my pocket. So got that far. I said, okay, I'm going to play down the rest of my money, go do whatever, which, and then I'll figure out what I'm doing with the rest of my money, right? I got taken behind the woodshed by every other machine.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, I told you about the double diamonds, no hits. Sat down at a triple stars machine. Ended up putting over $100 through that. And got like 1 or 2 20 credit hits and like 3 5s, and otherwise just got wiped out. Right.
Yeah.
I went to cash out the $290 and I sat there and I said, what do I want to do here? Ultimately, I split it in half, which wasn't terrible because I went home with $50. But thinking back about it now, I should have kept 200 and played the 90 just to take a little bit more home, right? Because that's really the focus of what I want to do. I want to build up my bankroll and not go into my bank account if I can help it. Overall, it was an okay trip. And the biggest problem was just not having options, because that's less fun.
Yeah.
Right. That was really the big issue. But I also realized that in the space and what I'm trying to figure out right now is just how to go to a casino and do it better. Right. What lessons can I learn going in? Right.
Sure.
Like, take more breaks, go get some water, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And especially because I don't want to say that the National Harbor is antagonistic towards people like me and my budget, but just going to find a place that's a little more accommodating and interested in me playing there.
You can stretch it out longer. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So
Yeah, that's the big thing.
exactly like Bellagio. That Bellagio was intimidating to me because the first time I ever went into Bellagio, all I had was $100. And I was like, okay, they spot you instantly. They know you don't have a lot of money. Like, you walk in the door, they're like, that guy, he doesn't have a lot of money. Don't give him drinks. And so I completely understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, Drew, I just started while you were talking, and thanks for that story, by the way, because it was filled with a lot of good stuff. I think ultimately you did okay because you left with more than your budget. Did I calculate all that right? Okay. That's always a good day in my book. But I think what I would recommend doing, and then this is for everybody, not just for you, Drew, is before you even get into the casino, come up with the scenarios of what you're going to do before you even start. Because I will tell you that it's very difficult, especially if you're not taking a break, to start to reason with yourself when you have money in your hand from winnings, and you just got there. It's very difficult because you think, wow, I could have a lot more fun now that I have $300 off of my 20 or 100. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But if that's not your goal and that's not your intent, then you're messing up. You know what I mean? Like, you should decide ahead of time, okay, I'm taking $100 in. If I get it to 200 or I get it over 200, I will leave with the 200 and I will just play with whatever's after that. And I'll be happy. Even if I turn it into 500, I will still make myself leave at 200, but decide that before you get out of the car and go inside. Because it's really, I mean, you know this now, because it's like the pull, the lights, the music's going, all those slot machines, you're watching other people play and they're getting bonuses. And then, the excitement's there. That is not a time to try to figure out what it is that you're going to do. That's my personal opinion. You got to decide
I agree
that
with
before.
You. I absolutely agree.
I don't think that was a bad trip. I think you could have left with more money, sure. But leaving with more than your budget is always an outstanding success in my book. Like that, most people cannot do that. They feel like, and you should play these scenarios. Don't exhaust yourself with these scenarios. Like, okay, if A, then B, then C, then don't do all that stuff. But make it very simple, saying, look, I'm bringing $100 in. I am willing to lose that $100. And if I lose all the $100 and it only takes 5 minutes for me to do that, I'm going to get in the car and go home. It's not a big deal. I expected to lose it. But let's say I take that 100 and I turn it into 180. Is that close enough? Maybe I just want to cash out the 180 and get in the car and go home and come back another day. But decide those things ahead of time, so that whenever it does occur, it's much easier for you to stop. And I do this not necessarily right before I go to the casino, but definitely before I put the money in the slot machine.
Mhm.
And you've probably seen me in a lot of videos. Dave does it the same way. We set our loss limits high and low. $100. If I get to 75, I'm cashing out. If I get to 125, I'm cashing out either way. And then deciding what I'm going to do next. Usually Dave does a great job at this, where he will, every cash out ticket, he will just start to save and cash all those in at the end of the night. And so he's, piling up those cash out tickets, but still playing off his original budget. And that's another way, a good tactic to do it. Dave, why don't you talk a little bit about what's your thought process and how you do that? You did it great last time we were at WinStar. So
I keep trying new things too.
sure.
And so sometimes I'll do what Mark said was one time I was like, okay, I have $300. And I rolled that first 100 up to about $700. So I was like, okay, this is it for that. I'm going to put that ticket in this pocket and I'm going to pull out $100. So my second 100. And I started playing on that. As I rolled that up to about 800, I did the same thing. I cashed that out and I was down to my last 100. And so essentially what I was doing was just rolling that up and putting that money away. So I was like, I'm not putting tickets into machines. I'm putting cash into machines, because we get too set on tickets of it's just a ticket. I'll just put the ticket in. Hey, that's a $700 ticket. That's not just your budget. That's your whole budget plus 3x on, top of that. So getting away sometimes from tickets is a really great thing. And something I would suggest for you is take a profit envelope with you. So, we're big on envelopes of dividing up everything. Have an extra envelope of a profit. So when you get, let's say you start with that 170 and you get to 200 up or get to $100 up, take that $100 and put it in there. You are guaranteed to go home with at least, a 30 or 25, 33% of your money. So you're not doing bad. And then it's like, okay, well, now if I move that up, because remember, you still have your base profit, your base budget still. Your profit's secured, it's in your pocket, you're not getting that back out. And then if you roll that up again, maybe cash out a little less, maybe $50 ahead. And now you have 150 in your pocket, which is your whole budget essentially. Now, whatever you have left over, you can do what you want with. Set a new goal of, well, I'm going to try to double this up. And if I lose it, I go home. But you go home even, which in my book, if you can have several hours of fun and go home with the same amount of money you came in with, you're doing awesome. You
Yeah.
had X amount of entertainment plus X amount of whatever else enjoyment you had there, and you're leaving with the same amount of money. And you cannot go wrong then. I mean, you really can't, especially when you start locking that money away from yourself. And something else I wanted to say was, because you started in poker and there's not like poker rooms around you, look for local poker groups. There's a lot of free poker groups out there. They meet at restaurants. Sometimes they have memberships of like $20 a year or whatever, and they're just social groups. You're playing for the fun and enjoyment of playing poker and meeting people and all that. And they meet once a week, and they're in most cities, like most areas you can find them. And they're just groups, and they just play poker here, play poker there, play poker there, and it's a blast to do. It's fun to refine your skills, playing with a number of people you haven't met before, because that's always when you're playing the same people over and over again, you start to understand how
Very
they play.
predictable. Yep.
Very predictable. The other thing is Club Mike V, one of our friends here on YouTube, has a poker channel as well, and they do a weekly game. So that way you're not missing out on that growth of a skill like poker is. And you're able to get back into that, take off the money aspect. Your budget's a little low for what I would consider to start playing poker with.
Oh,
So play
absolutely.
for
Yeah, yeah.
fun. Focus on fun, focus on enjoyment, focus learning the game, trying out new strategies and everything else like that. And then when you do go gambling, you don't have that thing of, I want to sit in this poker game, because I've done it before where I've started with $150. And if you don't come in for at least 3x, 5x minimum big blind, you're just not going to have a good time. You're just going to
Mhm.
get beaten up on constantly by everybody else. Because I've done that so many times. I'm coming into a 1-2 game with $100.
Oh, that's a
I'm
bad idea.
instantly Exactly. I'm instantly behind everyone else except for the guy who's just been bleeding all night long.
Mhm.
And you feel it right away. Everyone feels it. And it's like, bam, I'm going to go all in. Well, I don't want to go in all in this hand because I just sat down. So you end up folding a hand that would have won because you don't have that budget to struggle against.
Mhm.
And that way, just check out those different poker options just to get you some, fun in there, take some stress off of the poker gambling, especially when you can't play real money poker online anymore, which it does suck. But I think you got some great ideas as far as where you're starting, where you want to go, the discipline. It took me decades to learn. I'm still learning discipline because I will go up on the rails sometimes too. Mark see me chase diamonds. Like, don't
Yes.
chase that diamond. What I do, I chase the diamond
Yeah.
because we still get in that habit.
Yeah.
And
It's
no
not your
matter
fault.
how,
Like, yeah.
exactly, it's like no matter
It's not
how
your
strict
fault.
you are,
Yeah.
sometimes you let it go and don't feel bad when that happens.
No.
Learn
No.
from it.
Yeah.
Learn from those mistakes. And
Yeah.
I make them all the time. I've told Mark when I start chasing, I'm like, I'm chasing. I know I am. I need to stop.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, well, then stop. I'm like, well, if I could stop, I would have stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am that person, I will admit, who watches slot videos. And I'm like the stereotypical person who watches horror movies. Don't go in the house, right?
Don't go
But
in the
instead,
house.
it's stop chasing, cash out your
Yeah.
money.
Cash
Right?
out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
And
it's
those,
it's nobody's fault, that whole feeling of chasing,
Oh,
especially
right.
with slot machines. I mean, they are, you
Mhm.
know this by now, they
they're
are
designed.
designed to get you to keep playing, especially the new ones coming out. They are, it's not so hard to chase a double diamond because you'll just get bored and say, I'm done with this. But when you keep getting two buzz saws or you keep getting, two of the bonus symbol,
5
whatever,
hats.
it just, yeah, 5 hats, 5 piggy banks, whatever. It keeps you playing, and they're all
Mhm.
designed. It's a big psychology thing. And so that's why it's so prudent and important, that you realize that, number one, which Drew, I know you do. And second, that, you are setting your limits. It is okay to play those games. Like, hey, I think when we started talking about volatility and all this stuff, a lot of people say, well, why do you say don't ever play Huff and Puff and Piggy Bank and all that? It's like, we're not saying don't play it, but you have to go into those games with a different mindset and understand that, the way those games are designed to play out is very different from your, you know, 3 reel double diamond. I know you didn't have a good, session on double diamond. It happens, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
But if you were to compare the two over a long period of time, 200 or 300 spins, you will notice a big difference between double diamond and Huff and More Puff, for example. And it's about how you attack it when you go in there. And the one thing that we don't want people to do is to get, it's still entertainment at the end of the day. And you guys got to
Mhm.
understand that. You're going in to play slots to have fun. If you try to get too serious about it, you're probably going to be more likely to fall into those traps, in my
You're
opinion,
gonna have a bad
because
time.
you're going to be
Mhm.
so focused on what did Mark say to do, what did Dave say to do. I saw this, I read this, I shouldn't be doing this. It's like if you get too caught up in that, you're just going to say, screw it, I'm just going to play the rest of my money in this machine. Who cares what anybody says? And then afterwards, you kind of do the walk of shame where you're like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But, nothing was working. Why did I even bother? That kind of thing. But it's all about, the consistency of setting your budget, keeping your focus, taking those breaks. I mean, you mentioned that earlier. I say that so often because that is such a critical part to all of this, is that, and it's the psychology thing again, like those endorphins start running whenever you win something, or even if you lose something, you just have, it's still endorphins. It's just the opposite. It's a negative instead of a positive. But those things are taking your brain out of balance of focus, and if you let those things happen, then you will start making reckless decisions, whether you're way up or you're way down. It doesn't matter. It's like this, it's the easy slippery slope, I guess I'm trying to say, that you'll fall off on either side of that. And it's okay to have that happen every now and then. Like Dave is right. Like I fall for it too. Like I will start chasing, and I know what I'm doing, but it's like I wish I could stop easily. And I
Stop.
understand
I
why it's
can't.
hard, and Dave did this to me in Vegas. He's like, what are you doing? Get off of that machine. What are you doing? That's fine. I need that, and maybe you should go with a friend so you can each, tell each other, hey, stop, take a break. And I used to do this all the time when Brantley and I would go out. I'd say, hey, Austin, we just got a hand pay. Let's go walk around outside, or let's film another video, or do something that's beside gambling, because that allows those endorphins to kind of just chill back out. And then you get back to kind of a normal baseline of thinking. And then you can go in there and attack the problem. I don't want to say it like a problem, but attack the machine with a fresh mind, and hopefully, not your ticket or your winnings or anything like that, but almost like resetting, like I just got in here. And this is why what Dave was saying earlier about, just taking the $100 out at a time, it's such a critical part of that, because it's a lot easier if you pretend that this is my only 100. I am here right now with only this $100 bill, even though you have 200 or 300 left in your wallet. Pretend that this is it, and I've got to make this last for the next hour until the bus comes and picks me up, or whatever the case is. And if you think like that, and you don't think like so many people do, where it's like, yeah, I have this 100 and I've got 300 in my wallet, and then I can pull another 500 from the ATM, and then I can pull another 1,000 from my credit card. It's like you start thinking like that, and then suddenly you're making really bad decisions off that initial 100, right? And that's what we definitely don't want people to do. You got to stay in control, stay at that level. You've done a lot of things already that we would recommend on this channel, which is you've already identified what your budget is, $170. That's how much I take. And you've also figured out that quarters, maybe up to $1.25 total spend, is your sweet spot. That's also correct. That's very good. You have the challenge of finding those machines, which we talked about, it sucks, but they're out there. But you're doing all the right things in preparation of going in there. And I think the only thing that I can recommend on my side is just to focus more on the plan before you get out of the car. And then, whether you get a lockbox or the envelope that you can start collecting your winnings in, like Dave said, yeah. Until you get something like that, start, maybe the left pocket means it's your winnings and the right pocket is your original budget, whatever you can. And just really force yourself not to go into the wrong pocket at the wrong time, and it's tough, because all the casinos want, and I know I'm rambling at this point, but what all the casinos want is for you to not think about any of this stuff. And we talked about this on the last interview. It hasn't been published yet, but it's very much, what did I say? Casinos, they want you to devalue the value of the dollar. You know what I mean? Like when you're in a casino, suddenly $100 feels more like $1. And if you play long enough and you keep winning, and you keep upping your bets and stuff like that, you will lose all consciousness of what the value of the dollar is that you have. And casinos want that to happen. That's why they just make it really easy to, keep putting hundreds in. It takes it real fast, and, all that kind of stuff. That's why they got rid of coins and all that stuff, because it slowed down play. Everything is so much faster now. And that's what they want you to do, is not think about what the value of that dollar is. And so one of the things I recommend in the last interview is whenever you do take your break, let's say that you're up, look at how much money you have with your budget and what you're up with, and say, what can I buy with this? Maybe I've always wanted the new iPhone. Now you have the money. Get the hell out of the casino and go buy the iPhone on the way home,
Go buy the iPhone.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's important to do that and to set those limits. So, I'd be happy if you went in with 170 and you turned it into 200. That's 30 extra bucks. That's great. That's a
gas
meal.
money right there.
That's gas money. It's a cup of coffee every day for the next week that you bought yourself off of somebody else's
4
money.
days.
Yeah, that's true.
So here's a question.
Yeah,
here's a question. When I was walking around the floor, right, I'm really glad you guys brought up, and in this discussion and in previous ones that I've seen, I'm really glad you've brought up the denomination of the machines, because now I've noticed what's happening is a lot of A lot of cabinets are coming out with familiar names that, use this, like triple blazing sevens and other things, but they're a 1 cent, 2 cent, 5 cent machine.
Yep.
And I stayed away from those because I made the assumption that they're more volatile based on the denomination. Is that correct or not?
Well, not really because of the denomination, but
Mhm.
generally on the game itself. Those penny machines tend to add in more wilds. They tend to add in more bonus combinations and all that. And also the minimum bet is generally higher than you
Mhm.
would at a 3 credit quarter machine. So that's kind of the thing is they not only introduced more volatility, but then they took away the lower bets you can make. So it's hard to make a lower denomination bet on those machines because they tell you you can bet this, this, or this. You can't bet, 50 cents, but you can bet $1.25, or you can bet 2.50 or $3 or $4. And they don't give you that ability to change too much in there.
Mm.
The you know, the older 25-cent machines, they were 3 credits a spin. That's it. 3 credits, 75 cents, or 2 credits, 50 cents. There's no other way in there. You can bet less, but you can't bet more. On the penny machines, you can bet $5 a spin on a penny, but you can change that denomination to a 5 cent or a 10 cent. I mean, you can go all the way up to $1 and bet $50 a spin because they've set those credits as the minimum.
Mhm.
And so you got to really pay attention to that. And again, they're fun machines. A lot of these machines are really fun to play. But just going into it knowing that I am going to spend this $100 for fun and I'm going to try to get the bonus. And if I don't, which I probably won't, I'm out.
Mhm.
And Mark and I have done it before where we've played Huff and Puff at WinStar and we're like, all we're doing to do is get the bonus. We know we're not going to win, but we're going to try to get the bonus.
Yep.
And of course, like second spin, he gets the bonus. I get the bonus at the end and get like 10 cents or $10. I'm like, well, it took me $50 to get
Oh, why are you
$10
so
back.
salty, Dave?
Yeah, because that game's horrible. It's so much fun though. I do play it a lot. But the other thing I was going to say is, we have these envelopes here. You've probably seen them before on the show.
Mhm.
If you were in live in our studio, you'd be like, "Here's your envelopes." But you can go to the bank and get these. And when your profit envelope, seal it down. And the same thing for your budget envelope. Seal those so that when you're sealed, you have to make effort to open that. And that effort is thought time.
Mhm.
Of, okay, I'm on my first envelope. Okay, no problem. Bam, I tore that right open. Use that. After that's gone, take yourself a little break. Just get a drink of water. Watch other people play. Just take in the sights. Note the crazy guy who has some weird thing where he taps the machine 6 times before he pushes the button. All those kind of things. Walk around and get an idea of what else you'd like to play after your break's over. But then I guarantee you, when you open up that second envelope, it's going to be a little harder to open.
Yes.
I mean, you're just be like, this. I only have one left after this. So, and that thought process, whether it's putting the money in the safe, putting the money in your socks, putting the money in a cash box, handing the money to a friend, all those things give your brain just a few extra seconds to contemplate.
Yep.
I'm putting this is my second to last money. This is my last money. Now what's my plan? So,
Yep.
and that kind of gets you in that mode of maybe I'll play a little more conservatively. Maybe I'll play a little slower, which I really like to do. If I'm down on my money, like if I'm on my last $100, I slow down, mainly because at that point I'm trying to get drinks. Because if I'm at my last 100, I'm going to hit the button. I'm going to wait for a drink to come around, and then I'm going to hit the button again. And so playing a little bit slower, dropping down a gear to play, can help you stretch that budget out longer. It's not going to affect your winning because it's when you hit that button, it's going to decide whether or not you win or lose. So if you spin once every 5 seconds, probably the fastest you can spin, or once every 5 minutes, as long as you're getting the same enjoyment out of it, then do it because it's going to make your trip last even longer, especially if you're on that last part of your budget. Make that last. But you've got a good attitude of, I win or lose, I'm going to have fun, but try to set those profit points of my first session, I want to double this. And if I don't double it, I go take a break. And then second session, maybe not double it, maybe just get a 50% increase. If you're starting $50, maybe just play it up to 25 and then cash that out and take a break. And you'll find you can stretch that budget out longer and have a lot more enjoyment in that sessions.
I think for you, Drew, since you're driving to these places, I'd recommend keeping the envelopes in your car. I mean, hide it and put it under the floor mat or something. Don't just leave it sitting out
Right
on the
on the
passenger
dash.
seat. Yeah, put it on the dash and lay all the bills out.
Big flashing lights. Come.
Yeah,
check out what I got in my
money,
car.
free money here. I would do that so that the security guard at the front's going to look at you twice. But hey, you've got a plan, right? So every time that what we're trying to look for is that distance, right? And this is what I do when I'm in Vegas, is that I will immediately put all my money in the safe when I get there, and then I will only take 100 or 200 down to the floor at a time, and try very hard to pretend that is all I have here for the entire trip. And once I run out, I know that going all the way, back to the hotel area, waiting on the elevator, going to my room, that is enough time for me to realize that I just need to chill. Like, I don't need to go and get more and go back down and try to win it back, that kind of stuff. And so if you're driving, I think it's a good tip just to leave that stuff in the car, like your other envelopes, instead of bringing the whole 170 in, bring 35 in at a time or whatever you decide. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. But just that might be enough of walking back to your car to realize, you know what? I'm not having fun right now. Screw it. And then you get in your car, you just take off.
You
and
drive
come
away.
back another day,
Then you're really taking your profit with you. You're like, I'm out.
I mean, there's times in Vegas where I feel like I don't want to be here another day. I know Dave feels like this too. It's like, I don't want to be here another day. I'm done. I don't want any more distractions or anything. And I'm done gambling. I'm done. I've lost a couple hundred, but I don't want the temptation to keep playing. So I'm going to get an earlier flight home, or I'm going to leave early or whatever. But sometimes it's hard. It's a lot easier if you're driving, because it's easier just to get in your car and leave. But you have to evaluate, are you having fun anymore? Or are you chasing your losses? Or is it feel like it's monotonous work that you're doing? Like, you've completely devalued the dollar. You're not having any fun. You've lost it all. You're down to your last 20. You're going to do a Hail Mary. Don't do it. Just get in the car and leave. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. And it's nobody's fault. Nobody's weak. Nothing like that. It's all designed. This whole system is designed that way to get you to not think about those things and to stay focused. And so, if you do that and you have fun at the same time, and you go with friends and all that, and you see all your friends spending recklessly and playing piggy banking and stuff like that, you just sit back and laugh at them. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, I'm going to be the one with money left over for the next couple of hours while you're just sitting there watching me going, man, I wish I had another 100 so I could play along with you. It's like,
I wish I didn't play piggy banking.
Yeah. Hey, you should have listened. Like, this is the way it is. So, you have any other question? That denomination question was very good, by the way. And one of the things I wanted to add to that, Dave was absolutely right. And I call it the trifecta, which is the penny machines, because you have three things against your favor. The first one is, like Dave said, the volatility on penny machines is usually always medium to high. I can't think of a single penny game that is low in volatility. The second thing is the minimum bets, like Dave said. It's very difficult to find a penny. There are exceptions, but it's very hard to find a penny game that you can bet less than 50 cents on. Usually that's kind of the cutoff, 40 cents, 50 cents, something like that. But like Dave said, it goes into crazy amounts, 1,000 credits. And the third that works against you is that, historically speaking, penny machines have the lowest payback return to the player. So if you think about all three of those things working against you, it is literally the worst machines that you can play in a casino. Sure, you can win. Everybody can win. You can still get the progressive on 40 cents, and we hear stories about that all the time. But we also don't really hear all the stories about the 90% of people that just lost their ass,
Mm-hmm.
because they were playing penny games, and then they didn't win anything, and then they start blaming the casino, they start blaming themselves, they start blaming everybody else. But the problem was the game itself. It was designed to play out that way. And if you realize that and you go and find those other games, and if you can't find them, then you get in the car and you leave and you go try to find another casino that fits that mold,
Mm-hmm.
And so, Drew, you're doing a great job. I think that if you go, we definitely want to do a follow up with you. If you end up going out to Baltimore, or you go to one of those other casinos and they have some of those core games, we want to check back in with you to see like how it's going. If you learned anything about, like, we want to know what you come up with. We've given you ideas, but we want you to come up with your way of budgeting and hiding the money away, and the envelopes or bank, whatever you want to do. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I want to say, and I should have said this at the very beginning, I got to put all these disclaimers in here because I don't want people to go crazy. So, guys, please remember that there is no secret to winning at slot machines, period. Okay. There is nothing that you can do to manipulate the machine into winning or losing, or finding winning machines or finding losing machines. That does not exist. And especially if somebody's trying to charge you for this information, you got to really question yourself, because it's very much gambling. It's a risk reward system. Okay. That is what gambling is. And slot machines are notorious for this. And so all we can do is to point you in the direction of the things that you have control over. Your budget, you're taking the breaks, you're stuffing away your winnings. These are all things that the casino has no control over you. You have control over. And that's what we focus mostly on this channel, is because we want you to be the smartest person alive going into the casino and have that confidence that you got this when you get in there. And if you fall victim to thinking that machines at the end of the aisle or the time of the day or any of that stuff is what impacts your winnability on a machine, that means you are not focused on the other stuff that you do have control over. And that's what we think is so critical. So please remember, it's still gambling at the end of the day. Never gamble with money that you can't safely, I'm going to say it, Dave, that you could set on fire. Like, if you can't set it on fire, you shouldn't be taking it in there. I already see a T-shirt idea, Dave, for that. I think we should have some bills on fire.
Money on fire.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the thing to remember that I did my best to remember when I was at the casino last time is that every spin on a slot machine, a class 3 slot machine, is a unique event. That's why we do backspins, right? Yeah. And that's why, thank you for reminding me that, I have a better experience on the machines that I didn't have a good experience on. But even when I was there, right, I was sitting there and, taking a break with my phone or whatever, going, this is not what I've seen happen to other people. So it's just what's happening right now. I'm not going to avoid double diamond because I didn't get a line hit last time. It's just, that's what happened at that point. Yeah. Right. And that's really the most important thing. And I really do appreciate you saying that there is no secret to winning, because even though I'm talking about building bankroll or anything, I could just go lose all of it the next time I go to a casino. Yeah. Right. That is a possibility. And if you're not mentally ready for that to happen, you shouldn't be gambling in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And Drew, the thing I want to leave you with is the great thing about the Baltimore property I was mentioning is it is a Caesars property. Caesars does have the best slot finder piece on the website. They're the largest casino chain that has one. You can search all their properties, so you can make a plan before you even leave your house. Find the machines you want to play, find the denomination you want to play, in how many credits you want to play. Have that plan before you go. That way you already know, like, here's what I'm going to play first. I'm going to play this much money on this machine at this denomination with this many credits. I should have this many spins without any wins, and we'll see where I go from there. And having that knowledge before you even leave is going to make you more prepared as soon as you get there. You're not going to just, oh, I want to play that, I want to play that, I want to play that. No, I have a plan. Here's my list. I want to play this, I want to play that, I want to play that. It's on this row, this aisle, blah, blah, and there's the machine number and all that. So definitely use those advantages for you to have your best experience.
That sounds really good. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I am one of those people who would rather have a plan going in. So having that opportunity sounds really great. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and we'll put a
Anytime
link
at
up. We'll put a link to that website that Dave's talking about down here, so you guys see it, and also in the description. I've used that before. Also, I totally forgot that was still being updated. So thank you, Dave. That's great. Definitely good
Use it
advice
all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. Any
find my
last minute
favorite
questions
machine.
for us, Drew?
No, I think that's it. Thank you both very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay. And we of course wish you the best of luck, and we hope that your next trip is definitely a little bit better than this last one. Not necessarily financially, but confidence wise. Like we want you to go in and be a little bit more confident. And I think you're already got a great footing. I mean, I won't lie. You've got a lot of stuff already figured out. But there are a couple things that you can tweak that I think might make it a little bit easier. And I'm glad that you're receptive to that. A lot of people just think, why do we need to do all this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why am I even watching this gambler audit? What is this? Like, why do I care? I should just go in there and play what I want to play. If you want to do that, go for it. But just expect, your expectations should be a lot different from what we talk about on this channel and in these audits, because we think it's very critical that you go in with a plan and you go in with the understanding that not every slot machine is created equal, and you should only play certain ones at certain times. And we will talk a lot about that on this channel with live demonstrations of why we are saying this. And so we think all that stuff is very important. So we hope you listen. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Drew, thanks for coming on, for your time and everything.
Thanks a lot.
We really had a great time. And remember, gamble smart. And then Drew,
gamble safe.
All right.
There we go.
All right. IT guy. The Tropicana flyer, is that what that was?
Yeah, I'm an IT guy, and this is what all my paper looks like. Okay, every single piece of paper.
Oh yeah,
looks like that. Yeah. Okay.
I've got a big notebook here, and it's got like stuff in it from like 10 years ago in meetings that I was in.
Oh yeah. No, if you could see, like, you can kind of see a little bit over here, but like just the flotsam and jetsam over here is just terrible, right? Like.
Yeah. All right, welcome back everybody to the what do we call this? The financial gambler audit. I'm gonna start again. I forgot. The last one I did, I forgot the name of the damn channel. It's
Gambler Audit.
I know, Gambler Audit. All right.